Coronation Street twist hints at Mick's next target, and it isn't Kit. Tension continues to rise on Coronation Street this week as more residents find themselves in peril thanks to dangerous villain Mick Michaelis following the shocking murder of Craig Tinker. One character has already been kidnapped, and more tragedy may be on the horizon. After his vicious attack on police officer Craig Tinker, which ultimately led to Craig's heartbreaking death, Mick made a chilling promise to kill his nemesis, Kit Green. But instead of striking immediately at Kit, Mick took a terrifying turn and abducted Kit's mother, Bernie Winter. In the same harrowing episode where viewers witnessed Craig's tragic final moments, Mick's violent streak showed no signs of stopping, suggesting that another life could soon be in jeopardy. Craig's family and friends were left devastated when doctors pronounced him dead at the hospital following a severe brain injury caused by a brutal bat attack. Just moments earlier, Craig had briefly regained consciousness and seemed to be trying to speak before his condition rapidly declined, and he flatlined. Despite desperate efforts to save him, Craig couldn't be revived, leaving viewers heartbroken by the tragic scenes. However, Wednesday's episode ended with a disturbing twist that suggested someone else may now be in serious danger. Bernie suddenly vanished, prompting concern from her daughter Gemma. It wasn't long before viewers discovered her alarming whereabouts, trapped inside a van with Mick Michaelis, who has now become a killer and appears intent on taking revenge on Kit. Following the revelation of their troubled past, where Mick served time for a crime that Kit had a hand in, Mick's fury intensified. His anger only deepened when he learned that Kit had slept with his partner Lou years ago. This revelation sparked a violent altercation with Lou, during which Mick assaulted her with a bottle. The realization that their son Brody might actually be Kit's biological child pushed Mick over the edge. His downward spiral of rage and alcohol abuse culminated in the deadly assault on Craig. During Wednesday's episode, Lou secretly left the hospital to confront Mick, pleading with him to surrender to the police. But when he flat out refused, she demanded he leave her life for good. Instead, Mick's anger boiled over, and he made a chilling vow for revenge. He threatened to hunt down Kit and kill him, leaving Lou shaken and terrified. Viewers then saw Mick inside a van with a frightened Bernie, who desperately tried to reason with him and prevent him from doing something reckless. It became clear that Mick was using Bernie as bait, setting a calculated trap to lure Kit into a confrontation. As Coronation Street heads into Friday's episode, the tension escalates, with Mick seemingly ready to strike, and both Kit and Bernie facing deadly consequences. Are Bernie and Kit truly in danger? If so, it's possible that Kit may not be the one who suffers harm. Much like how Mick's rage was misdirected at the vulnerable Craig, could Bernie end up getting hurt or even losing her life while trying to protect her son? After all, much of the backstory revealed in the flashback episode focused on Kit's estrangement from Bernie following his adoption, with Bernie attempting to reconnect but being rejected. Could the story come full circle, with Bernie finally standing by Kit's side, only to make the ultimate sacrifice for him? Colson Smith has shared that the dramatic end of his Coronation Street character, Craig Tinker, was the ideal way for him to depart the show. Craig met a tragic fate after being brutally assaulted by Mick Michaelis, who held a deep grudge against Kit Green and vented his rage on the unsuspecting officer who crossed his path. As Mick escaped and targeted Kit's partner, Sarah Platt, Craig briefly regained consciousness in the hospital. However, just as he caught sight of his cherished stepfather, Kirk Sutherland, who had thoughtfully brought the tie Craig had been searching for, his health suddenly declined. Medical staff fought to save Craig's life, but he was ultimately pronounced dead, leaving Kirk, Maria Connor, and paramedic Asha Allahan in utter grief. While fans are still reeling from the emotional conclusion to Craig's storyline, actor Smith offered some comfort by expressing his happiness with how his character's arc concluded. In a conversation with RadioTimes.com and other outlets, the actor recounted his response when he found out last year that Craig's days were numbered. "I had already mentally prepared myself for the news," he revealed. I'd been part of that place since I was 12, so I understand exactly how things operate. I realized my time was nearing its end, and that Craig had ended up in a situation that would be nearly impossible to escape. So I went into the meeting with producer Kate Brooks, fully expecting that outcome. During our talk, Kate spoke for around 20 minutes, going over things, but we hadn't yet addressed the when, the how, the who, or the what. Eventually, I interrupted Kate and said, "I've got 2 questions. First, when does it happen? Second, do I die?" She paused for a second, a bit taken aback, and I added, "To make it easier for you, the answer I'm hoping for is yes," Smith said. For me, the only way to leave was for my character to be killed off. I needed a definitive ending, something that allowed me to mentally close the chapter on Corrie, knowing it was complete and Craig's story had reached its final point. In a strange way, having my character killed off felt like the most fitting end for me, he admitted. I didn't want to leave the door open with a "maybe we'll bring you back" situation, especially when that kind of return would likely never happen, and it would feel like an incomplete chapter. I believe Craig's death, especially dying in the line of duty as a police officer, was a heroic and powerful send-off. It was the most meaningful way to close his story. He also assured fans that they won't be seeing any surprise returns, even in dream sequences or as a ghostly presence. I made it clear, I'm not coming back in any supernatural form. I said, once I leave, that's it. I'm gone for good, he chuckled dear. Though Craig's death was heartbreaking on screen, Smith had a rewarding time bringing it to life. I absolutely loved filming those scenes. I felt really fortunate. At Coronation Street, we often rotate directors, and I had the chance to work with Duncan Foster for this storyline. He's been behind some of the biggest story blocks over the past 30 years. I think he mentioned I was the 40th character he'd taken out, Smith joked. It gave me a real sense of confidence. You just know you're in expert hands, and it genuinely feels like you're part of something significant when you're on that set. The actor also shared with RadioTimes.com and other reporters a touching memory from the night before his final scenes were filmed. That Thursday evening, I came back to the set around 8 p.m. The weather was lovely, warm and calm, and security knew I'd be stopping by, he recalled. I sat just outside the rover's return, right there on the cobbles, and stayed for about an hour. I didn't do much, just sat there relaxed, took everything in. It was my personal moment to say goodbye, my way of thanking Corrie for all it had given me. After that, I felt at peace. I thought to myself, that's it, I'm ready now, let's do tomorrow. As a heartfelt parting gesture, Smith shared the thoughtful mementos he left behind for the Coronation Street cast and crew on his final day. I gave everyone a custom Lego version of Craig Tinker, he said. It was a little Lego police officer with ginger hair, and I added a sticker that read, "PC Tinker will always be there when you need him. I'll miss you all forever." There's no doubt the cobbled streets will feel a little emptier without our courageous PC Tinker around.